All right, let's talk today a little bit about type hierarchy, and then I'm going to show you how to establish hierarchy with style sheets in InDesign. So type hierarchy is basically this: the order that you read things. So was I right? Did you read it just like that? You probably did. So you'll tend to go through the number one hierarchy first, or the biggest type, and then the second, and then the third. That type at the very beginning you skipped over because it wasn't important. So you'll scan down until you find the important information. And there are basically three levels of hierarchy: the primary type, which is the eye-catching or the headline; the secondary type, which is what's going to create that order and flow for most of the text; and then the tertiary type, which is easy to read at small sizes. In web design, you'll see this as H1, H2, and paragraph. So let me show you the techniques for establishing hierarchy, and I'll give you some examples in style sheet. So the 6 techniques are size, the size of the type, the weight or the heaviness of types are bold, ultra bold, black, light; the color that you apply to text; the position of the type, meaning is it at the top or the bottom? Is it positioned with space around it? The type contrast, type with higher contrast is seen first. And then lastly, the orientation, meaning does it go horizontally across or does it go up the side, which might grab your attention first. So let's see how these look in an InDesign document. So this is the text that you have for your play, for your project. And I want to show you the best way to kind of assign that hierarchy, keep your typography organized, and easily make changes to style. So I've already set these up. So right now I'm just going to apply them so you can see how they work, and then I'll show you how I made them. As You Like It is the title, so I'm going to make that the headline typeface. Royal Shakespeare Theatre is text. Not as important. William Shakespeare is important, so I'm going to make that large text. Limited engagement, all this copy down here really is text, but I can call some of it out with some special characteristics. So when you do the overall styling and paragraph styles, it will run through the whole paragraph. You can't just pick specific letters or words and call them out as a different style. So when you want to do that, you go to character styles. Character styles literally mean that the characters of the word can change, whereas paragraph involves the whole paragraph. So now we're talking about leading and spacing and alignment and that kind of thing. So some of what we can do here is on Royal Shakespeare Theatre, we could make that into bold italics. And maybe it'd be nice to break up. Do you see how all this text here is the same? That's where we want to start applying these. So I'm going to put bold italics on the first line of these. Gives it kind of a consistent rhythm. And then I'm going to use that same bold italics on the credits to kind of break up that. The ticket at Fonda Theater, I could either make that bold italics, but I think I'm going to go back to the large text because this is how you sell the ticket. So we certainly want to make it nice and big. Another thing I can do, remember now we've used size and we've used weight. So these are bolder. They're also italics, but they're bolder, and that gives them a little bit more weight. Another thing we can use is color. So I could make William Shakespeare into color. I could make the ticket as being the 2 most important things, that it's a Shakespeare play, and here's how you can get the tickets. So you can move it around however you like, but you've got this cadence to it. So let me show you how I establish this. I'm going to start in a brand new file. Okay, I have no character styles or paragraph styles, so I'm going to show you how I built those. So first I'm going to do my H1 or my headline. So As You Like It is going to be my headline. So with my character styles and paragraph styles open, and you'll find those under window, let me make this shorter and this one. You can style it the way you want it and then just define it. That might be the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to take this type, I'm going to put something really nice and bold. I'm going to go with Brandon Grotesque. And I want to make it bold if we have it, and we do. And then I want to make it as large as I can because this is a headline. So I'm going to make this 87 points. And then I'm just going to hit the plus. So basically what that does is it creates a new style called Paragraph Style 1, which I can rename by just hovering my mouse in there. I can rename that headline. That is where all the information about that type is. Now I want to establish my text. As you can see, this type has kind of a low baseline, which means that the height of the lowercase letters is pretty low. So I'm going to use it with the serif type that also has a low baseline called Mrs. Eves. I'm going to make that 15/18. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit the plus, paragraph style 1, and I'm going to call that text. That is my text. And we can make all of this text also text. Now I want one typeface that stands out. I'm going to use that Brandon Grotesque again, and I want to make some words in that same type but larger. So what I could do is just use the headline but make it much smaller. And then I'm going to say plus. Now because I'm in the headline style sheet, when I say plus, it's going to base it on that headline. Do you see here where it says based on headline? And I'm going to call this subhead. So what you call them is your deal. I like to put them in order too. So I like the headline, subhead, text. That way it's very do. And of course I want this all centered, which I should have done in the beginning. The other thing I want to do now is I want to put in some little things with color and bold italics and all caps. So let's go to type, show hidden characters. A paragraph style sheet is going to go from the beginning of the paragraph to the end. So for example, if I wanted to make you the subhead, I couldn't. It affects all the way up until that paragraph return. It will only be applied to entire paragraphs. So if I wanted to make the word William into text size, it will make the whole thing. It goes from the left all the way until it hits a paragraph. Now, you can see where all these paragraphs are. They're pretty much after every line. So that's good in that you could use style sheets for all of that. I'm going to hide these hidden characters again. But what I like to use character styles for is just kind of adding a little bit of hierarchy touch throughout. And I'll show you how it can benefit you when you start kind of tweaking things. So I'm going to make a character style. And remember, the only thing that has to be in here is whatever is different. So I'm going to call this all caps. And I'm going to go, and you see how few things here? There's many more things you can program into a paragraph style sheet. Character is pretty basic. And what I want to do on the basic character format is I want to make this all caps. It doesn't matter which piece of type I'm using. So if I apply it to this one, all caps, or I could apply it to this, all caps. I could even apply it to our headline. So it doesn't matter where you apply it, it will add it to the paragraph styles. So I've got all caps for that one. It also might be nice to have a color. So I'm going to call this color, and I'm going to make the color this orange. Now I can use that also, and I don't want to put it on there actually. Maybe I want to make William Shakespeare color instead of all caps. The last thing I want to do is I want one more body copy variation. So I'm going to open this up. And we know for our body copy we're using Mrs. Eves, but I want this to be bold italic. So I'm just going to call it bold italic. So that means everywhere in the body copy that I apply this will be bold italic. There, there. And then here I could actually differentiate the credits on the left as soon as they get to that semicolon, which is nice. And then maybe this one I want to go back to my subhead typeface. And maybe I want to make it color. By having these, look at how I've broken up all the text, but I've still stayed into a rhythm. I have a headline typeface of Brandon Grotesque, I have a body copy of Mrs. Eves, and I've just applied some all caps, some color, and some bold italics to kind of break it up. Very consistent. Much easier to read than the plain copy. And now you can see how fast I can push this all through. So, As You Like It is our headline. William Shakespeare, that's our subhead. Royal Shakespeare is text. Oops, that needs to be centered. And when you change something like that, like the text wasn't centered and I made it centered, do you see that plus sign? That's saying you've changed something since you set this up. And even if you hover, it'll tell you what it is. I changed the alignment. So I do want all the body copy centered, so I could say redefine style. And then all of this will be body copy. And then I'm going to go in real quickly and put my little changes that kind of make it more interesting. Bold italic, bold italic. And then I can make this my subhead and also color. There we go. Color. So let me show you real quickly one more thing about this that makes it useful. Not only does it help you organize your hierarchy, make sure that you have a nice clean rhythm of spacing and size with your text, but let's say you want to play around and try some different things. I could open up text, open up the style sheet by double clicking on it, and I got the preview button here. So maybe with the text I want to go bigger. Like maybe and do you see how it affects all the text? Instead of going in and changing one and then the other, and oh yeah, I made that other one that also, you could affect them all. I could take the tracking in a little bit. I could also make all the text all caps. Super bad idea. You do not want text to be all caps. Okay, so that's another way that it makes it really easy for you, is that you can keep modifying them and trying out different typefaces, different colors. I could go in and open my color character style with it previewed. Everywhere I've put color, I can change it. I could change it to pink. I can change it to blue. So imagine the possibilities if you did a brochure or something that had color throughout. You could change the entire thing just from the character style. Okay, so it's a good idea to set these up on your poster. I'm going to be looking for character styles and paragraph styles set up on your final poster when you hand it in. Okay, I hope that's helpful.